All right, well, the time has come that I'm tearing apart my electrical system again and removed my old modified sine wave inverter. I had a 2000 watt modified inverter, this guy here. It was a good inverter while I had it, but I need the pure sine for everything that I'm doing this time. So I upgraded to, as the controller, the Renogy 2000 watt pure sine inverter. And of course I had to take out all the electrical stuff that I just did to get it installed. That's fine. I've got to I've already started pulling the power switch, the remote switch. I'm getting this out of the wall so I can cut the new hole for the Renogy switch. And in the past, I've had to do some work inside this wall. It's where all my solar cables go through. And of course, you know, when I did my thermostat upgrade and when I ran my remote switch for the inverter, and there's some fuses and stuff back here. So this was all stapled. I pulled all the staples out and just added a few screws so I can easily, you know, access this panel. So now all I have to do is just, you know, put a little pressure on this and this panel comes out. So just pull that panel out, it comes out from the bottom, and then I have access to all my mess. So I just need to get this cable pulled out and then run back out and rethread the new one. All right, so I've got a piece of scrap solar cable here that I'm going to tape to the end of this jack that was from the old inverter remote switch. Pull that cable up, pull this cable up through there, and that way I'll have something to tape onto from this end to rethread the new cable back down. The cables aren't detachable from the switches themselves, so I just have to basically thread a chase cable up through there and pull it back through. All right, just like that. Now I'll pull this up through from the inside. Inside the closet here, it's this cable here. I'll go ahead and pull that up through and then get the new one threaded back down using the chase cable. All right, so there's the end of the cable and, well, the end of both cables there. Now I just need to tie on my new connector to this, pull it back through. This paneling's easy enough to cut with a blade. You have a little bit more control over it. So I just stuck this up against here, marked it out, and cut it out with my utility knife. Now all I need to do is thread the new remote switch cable through this hole. Tape it onto the cable going back down to the battery compartment. Probably shouldn't be so rough with this switch, but it's all right. All right, so got the cable pulled back through. Let's get the new inverter installed. Looks pretty clean. Nice. So if you guys have seen my old video, how I wired up my, for boondocking power, how I wired up my inverter to my shore power plug, this is that old plug using 12 gauge Romex. That is going to get upgraded. I'm going to run all new 10 gauge Romex. And with this new Renogy inverter, you get 310 volt outlets, but they're only 15 amps combined. So if you want to get the full 2000 watt capability, you can hardwire your Romex to this plug here. So take this cover off and you've got your 3 prongs there to connect a Romex. And then I'm going to run all new, obviously run all new Romex underneath the 10 gauge Romex to my shore power compartment, where I have, if I can get it here, the other end of that plug. So I'm going to wire a new plug on this. So when I am plugged into shore power from my batteries to my inverter, I've got the correct wire to run things, you know, higher amperage things like that air conditioner for longer periods of time, or an induction cooktop, things like that. This will just be a safer setup. And this won't be a standard plug like this. It'll actually be a 30 amp 3-prong RV connection, hard mounted to the inside of the camper there. So this style of plug here, this will be mounted inside of a box up in here somewhere, up on that wall. All right, I'm going to pull this new cable through, this new 10 gauge coming through, and get rid of the old 12 gauge. And it goes through there, underneath in my basement. I got all the little clips off. And then over underneath my shower. Comes out there, and then up into my shore power plug compartment. All right, a little slack, and I'll run it up into that compartment. All right, and it's coming out there, and plenty of slack over on this side. All right, so I got my connectors on with heat shrink, and these are the little ring connectors that'll go onto the hardwired portion of the inverter. All right, and on my little battery box here, my electrical box, I got a couple of holes drilled, one there and one right there, for my mounting screws. So I've got a couple of stainless steel, pretty good size stainless steel bolts and nylocks with some washers that'll go through the compartment and cinch down on that battery box so it stays in one place. All right, so with my battery box mostly into the compartment, I can go ahead and get my new inverter mounted to the outside of the box here. So I'm going to get the positive and negative terminals hooked up first. Pull these little caps off. Loosen these guys up. All right, so of course make sure your batteries are disconnected. I've got my disconnect switch in the off position, so all of my bus bars are dead, so no power going to these cables. These things tightened up. It's cool because these studs are threaded, and you've got a a backing nut, so it's good to have that extra security for these connections. Okay, so just like that, you guys can see that, positive and negative. All right, those are tight. I'll put my little connectors back on if they fit, just like that. Okay, so I can get this mounted to my screws here. All right, so now I can get my little electrical box with my 30 amp plug wired in. So just need to pull the receptacle out and get it wired up with the new 10 gauge wire and get this box mounted to the inside of the camper. So we got our hot and our neutral and our ground on the plug. Your hot is going to go on this side, neutral here, and of course ground. Make sure you give everything a good tug to make sure they're all tight and snug in there. All right. I went ahead and grounded the box too. So ground goes to the plug and to the box. All right, so I've got my neutral, my ground, and my hot, my line all set. I'll go ahead and close this, and then get my cap put on and screwed down. All right, got my little cover back on, and that's ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and fire it up and see if it lights up the outlets. On that switch, you've got on, off is center, and then remote. I need to leave mine in remote mode because I'm using the remote switch inside the camper, that new remote switch that I mounted to turn the inverter on and off. All right, so I'm plugged in. The shore power cord's plugged into the new 30 amp plug that I mounted on the side of the camper. Now I can turn on my inverter. Power on. And microwave is on. I plugged in my kilowatt meter and I've got 119.6.7 volts on that plug. This plug over here is the same, 19.6. I'll turn on my microwave real quick. Just do a quick 30 seconds. All right, well, I would call that a success. Everything powers up. We've got good voltage, consistent voltage, and yeah, ready to boondock. So, catch you guys on the next video. Later.